This statement shouldn't make sense because when we look at it, women have never been more educated, they have never been more financially independent, they have never had more opportunities, never had more freedom, and yet we are living through what many are calling the female loneliness epidemic. If empowerment was supposed to make women freer, why do so many women feel so alone? And the obvious answer is to say that empowerment created this loneliness, that women became too selective, too ambitious, too independent, because we have had people say that women don't need men anymore, that this is what feminism wanted, and that the standards are too high. But I don't think the answer is as simple as that. I don't think that empowerment created loneliness. I don't think that women became lonely because they were empowered. I think that empowerment acted as a tool of exposing this loneliness. I think it amplified it. And for us to better understand this, we need to go backward. Because every time people talk about female loneliness, they talk as though loneliness is something that modern women invented, as though our grandmothers spent their days baking bread, raising children, and living a happily ever after. History tells us a different story. For most of history, marriage was never about love, it was never about companionship, it was about survival, it was security, it was all about continuity of the family line. Women spent years of their lives with men who didn't know anything about them, who understood nothing about them. A woman could spend 50 years of her life with a man. They would raise children together, they would share meals, they would sleep in the same bed, but the woman would never feel emotionally known. But the difference between then and now is community. Back then, a woman had sisters, they had aunties, they had grandmothers, they even had co wives. She had a community around her. She was alone, but not isolated. So the community acted as a cushion. And not to say that community erased this loneliness, it simply stopped it from swallowing them whole. Then modernity arrived. We traded villages for apartments, neighbors for notifications. We know what strangers ate for breakfast and lunch and dinner, but we don't know our neighbors' names and we call it progress. And here's where the conversation gets uncomfortable, so stay with me. Something happened in the last century. Women fought a hard battle and won. They could now enter into universities, they could enter into boardrooms, into business, into science, places they couldn't have gotten into 200 years ago. Women started earning their own money. They could now own property. They could choose. They could also live. And with that, they learned how to survive without marriage. But while they were learning to embrace these new changes, where was everyone else? Who was changing with them? Did society learn to relate to a woman whose identity wasn't tethered around sacrifice? Did society teach boys and men how to relate to women who didn't need them in the traditional sense? Did workplaces rethink leadership or simply rewarded women who behaved like men? Did relationships evolve, or did we just expect women to fit their new lives into all the expectations? Because women have been adapting. Women adapt, that's what they are. In the workplaces, at home, they became fluent in performance. Strong at work, strong at home, strong for everyone else. But somewhere along the way, that strength became a prison because a woman who carries everything is rarely asked, who carries you? Who helps you? And because women keep evolving, they keep learning, they keep changing, they felt something is wrong. I shouldn't be this tired. I shouldn't be carrying everything. So, again, with empowerment came self awareness. Women today know themselves more than any generation of women have ever been allowed to. And I use the word allow because women were not allowed to know themselves. They have gone to therapy, they have read books, they have learned what boundaries are, what manipulation looks like, and they started questioning inherited beliefs. Why am I inferior? Why should I submit? Why am I less than? Because once you know and learn what disrespect feels like, it's very hard to pretend that you don't. And so women started living. They started living marriages that no longer suited them, not because they were asking for too much, but because they were no longer willing to confuse endurance with love. But the irony is, a man who loses a woman because she refuses to endure abuse, she refuses to endure disrespect or mistreatment, they will still find another woman who is willing to endure, because it's very unfortunate that in this day and age, women were never taught how to be centermen. Everything about a woman, even now in the 21st century, revolves around a man. Women are still taught that having a man is a measure of your worth. If you don't have a man, that means that you're worthless. It means that you're not enough. You mean no man could love you? You mean you couldn't get a man? And the woman who left, the woman who was not willing to endure, who was not willing to be manipulated knowingly, she gets called difficult. She's hard to please. Her standards are too high. And then she starts feeling less because we live in a society that revolves around men. And she might end up believing this, which is also another kind of loneliness. So there's no winning. And then came social media, where likes and followers and subscribers became a measure of how much you're loved. And some women confused being watched with being known. They substituted love for likes. Social media gave an illusion of community, an illusion of connection, because you can have hundreds of thousands of followers, you can have a million views in a single video and still eat dinner alone, because algorithms cannot replace community, validation cannot replace intimacy, and visibility cannot replace love. And then something that people often forget, fear. Women are so afraid. A man is the number one predator when it comes to women. So a woman is forced to move differently in the world. She calculates, do I smile here? Do I say yes? If I say no, is he going to get mad? And every day the media reports cases of women killed, kidnapped, trafficked, and yet nothing is done to the perpetrators. They just keep walking free. So women have learned to be hyper vigilant around men. They don't trust them, and unfortunately, trust is the foundation of intimacy. You cannot build a deep connection while simultaneously calculating your own safety. And with all that being said, I don't think we can have a female loneliness epidemic without a male loneliness epidemic. I just think we are all lonely, and women are the people screaming it out loud.